Hi everyone, good evening, and thank you for joining me for this month's free online webinar with my very special guest, Natalie Woodman. I'm so excited to have this lady on tonight, and especially to reverse roles and repay the favour, as she was so good to have me on her radio show a few months back after the release of my book, and we had a grand old time chatting in there. So much so that I said, why are we not doing this again? So here we are. For anyone that's not been on one of my regular monthly webinars before, I am Carla Thomas. I'm a holistic counsellor in mind-body medicine. I am an I Quit Sugar expert for Sarah Wilson's I Quit Sugar program, the online version. I am an advocate for Juice Plus, and most recently I became a published author this year with my very own book called The Juicy Movement. So that's a little bit about me. Tonight we are going to be delving right into all things gut health, and we have probably one of the most knowledgeable women around that I know of to be speaking on this, and going to try and squeeze in just probably a fraction of what she knows because we only have 30 minutes. So I do just ask that you keep yourselves muted on here tonight, just to save any background noise coming in at all, so we can hear everything that Natalie has to share. We don't miss anything at all. I will aim to leave a little bit of time at the end. If anyone does have a question for Natalie, you can pop them in the chats, okay, which is available. Type your question in there. And also feel free, guys, to interact. It's a very laid-back setting, nothing too formal on here. We're really just two ladies having a conversation that you guys get to share with us. So please feel free to participate in terms of the chats. And as I said, I'll leave time for Q&A. So I'm going to get down to the nitty gritty so we don't waste any more time. So tonight we have Natalie joining us. Now, Natalie is a holistic nutritionist and naturopath. She's affectionately known as the gut engineer. She has a special interest in gut and digestive health, and especially gut microbiome, which is really gut bacteria. So she's very, very passionate about this, and you can see it if you follow her online or have a conversation. She absolutely lives and breathes what she teaches and preaches. You can see that, and in how fantastic she looks as well. She's a regular presenter, talking on the importance of healthy living, an author as well. You have to share your books as well with us tonight, Natalie. She's a health and wellness radio show host. As I mentioned, Natalie had me on Radio Fremantle a few months back, and we had a great chinwag on there, and that's on Thursdays from 3 to 5 p.m. for anyone that wants to listen. And also in her spare time where she has it, she's the creator of Youre organic plant-based concentrate. So she's passionate about keeping chemicals out of the home as well. Natalie also runs individual and group gut rebalancing programs at her private clinic in South Perth and at various locations around the metropolitan area. She's a member of the Australian Natural Therapists Association, which is really, really important, because if you ever do want to see a naturopath of any sort, you want to ensure that they are on this listing and part of the association, so they're legit, basically. And also the Complementary Medicine Practitioner Association Council, which again just verifies how professional she is and what she does in really sticking to the guides and the rules. So after that, take a big breath.
Yep.
Right, I could have probably kept going, but welcome, Natalie, to your first
Thank you.
webinar. Juicy webinar.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you so much for having me. We've had some good chats before, so I'm really excited to share this with your listeners.
Oh, thank you. And I mean, look, I gave an overview of your extensive background in health and wellbeing, but at the end of the day, you have a better insight to it than I do, or anything written. So, I would love for any of the listeners tonight to hear your overview, anything I might have missed, but more importantly, your background story that led you to all of these amazing modalities, because really, I have no doubt it's going to be fascinating on what got you on this path.
Yep. Well, I think it started back, I'd lived in Japan for about 15 years and came back when I was about 37 and lived very healthily in Japan, had 3 kids there, and was in excellent health. Then I came back to Australia and sort of incorporated the standard Western diet and eating healthy. I mean, I never ate, I wasn't eating out at Macca's or burgers all the time or all the rest of it, but just you know, like any busy mother, grabbed, you know, jars of sauces or things and put things together with some pasta, a bit of meat, tuna, whatever. And I gradually saw my health decline, so much so that I had chronic eczema, and my back, a pain in my back got so bad that what the crux of it was is that in one period I would go down for weeks at a time, and I was in bed. I'd been in bed for 2 weeks, and I mean crawling to the toilet and all the rest of it. One night I thought I'll crawl to the bathroom, go to the toilet. Luckily it was just a wee. Put down my pants, and this massive pain went through me because the pain used to be so bad. And I basically went straight through head first to the shower screen, the tiles, and sliced open my head and eyes. And it was quite funny because when the ambulance arrived, they were like, oh, well, okay, well, you know, blood everywhere, get up and we'll get you on the stretcher. And I said, well, the head's not the problem. I can't move. My back is done. So I got back, and I'd previously been to doctors and all sorts of things, sort of like the general Western medicine, and nothing was working. And I'm laying in bed thinking, this is absolutely crazy that I am the age of, by that time I was about 40, and I was like 15 kilos overweight. I was very unhealthy, back pain, eczema, and I'm like, this cannot be my life. So sort of delved into nutrition and enrolled at university to do nutrition. And after a year of just standard nutrition, realised what they were teaching, which was our cooking class in one of the nutritional units was about replacing brown bread with white bread because it was easier to digest, taking away butter and putting in margarine. And this is what was getting me ready to be a nutritionist in either a hospital or dietitian and all that sort of thing. So I just realised that we were so way off with the way we were dealing with this. And so went on to do holistic nutrition and naturopathy, and studied then for an extra like 2 or 3 years and became accredited. And through that journey with nutritional medicine and holistic nutrition, more so than even the naturopathy, because very much the naturopathy was about prescribing of green supplements. But I wanted to level back with that, well, while they can be very useful for therapeutic conditions, what's causing these issues? And I started following a few gut-centric doctors in America that had basically abandoned their gastroenterology and all these things of their typical Western way and allopathic Western medicine way of doing things, and looking at the gut microbiota. And something resonated with me, and bang, I was into it. And followed them and read the research and basically used myself as a human guinea pig. And come probably within 8 months of those chronic conditions, had no back pain, had no eczema, and felt unbelievably amazing. And your gut microbiome, understanding that we have a couple of barriers. We have actually 4 barriers. We've got a skin barrier, we've got a genitourinary barrier, we've got the acid pH barrier, and we've got our gut barrier. And our gut barrier is actually the biggest and most extensive because we are more microbe than human. So we have trillions of gut microbiota, and in looking at the cells in our body, we've only got like millions or billions. If we look at the human genes, the things that turn on and off, that actually express disease like rheumatoid arthritis or obesity or any of these metabolic syndrome, Alzheimer's, they've said links in so many diseases, they're turned on by genes. Now we have 22,000 human genes. We have 3 million bacterial genes. And now we're finding that these bacteria do so much that the list is endless. It regulates our immune system. 60 to 70% of our immune system is in our gut. If you've got an immune problem, it's your gut. 95% of our serotonin, our second brain, is located in the gut. If you've got mood, anxiety disorders, it's got to do with the gut. If you're lethargic, your mood has gone right down, you just got no energy, guess what? Our gut microbiome make vitamin B. They're the only thing that makes vitamin B. One of the first signs that your gut is struggling is this low energy, lack of, wanting to get out of bed. Mind you, I don't want to get out of bed, but that's because I like my bed. So they're natural antibiotics. So if viruses come along, they kill them naturally. So you can understand that as the gut microbiota decreases, which is very much so with our Western diet, that these things come along. And I get people all the time go, oh, well, you've got to expect it in your 50s or your 40s or whatever. I don't know, I've got photos on my website, I probably should put them up, but I used to avoid the camera like the plague for years. And, I'm nearly 54, and when I was 37, 40, I probably looked 10 years older than I did now. And the really great thing, and what I always tell my clients is that, the human body can regenerate, replenish, re-inoculate, restore. So it doesn't matter how bad things are, if you take and go, that's it. I mean, I laid in bed that time. My friends brought me vodka to have in bed to make me feel better, because I was drinking like nearly every second day. Just a little drink, a little nip. And when I just stopped, and I enjoy a drink now, and I have coffee. I don't live on lettuce leaves or live like a monk. But you have to make radical changes if you want a different outcome. And our gut microbiota eat fiber. And there is no fiber in meat, chicken, eggs. And we're not talking about, I'm not prescribing a vegetarian diet or a vegan diet, but what I'm saying is that you need a plant-centric diet for health. And we all know that, because even our GPs, if there's something wrong, they don't say, oh, look, I want you to go home and increase your bacon, eggs, and meat. They say, look, I want you to go home and increase your fruit and veggies. So even our Western medicine knows where our health is. And so I'm not saying, but it's very much like people go, they ask me all the time, is this good? What about this food? Is that bad? Or what's this? And I always bring up the analogy that if you have a broken leg and it's put in a cast, you're not cross-country skiing, you're not doing a marathon or a triathlon, you're not even going probably for a very brisk walk. Now, those things are not bad, but they're certainly not right when it's damaged. And it's the same when you're talking about restoring the gut. Don't think about good or bad, we're thinking about what's right. So I very much say to people about cutting out meat and chicken and eggs and all those things just in the beginning while they heal their gut, and increasing those microbiota accessible carbohydrates, things that our gut microbes eat. Because when we feed them, they keep us healthy. And it's as simple as that. And if you look at in South America, in Africa, in rural areas, then 90% of their diet is microbiota accessible carbohydrates, yams, sweet potatoes, and all the rest of it. And they're perfectly healthy. They don't know the diseases that we have in the Western world. And when you look at countries like India and China that are becoming more westernized, their increase of disease. When I lived in Japan back in late 80s, early 90s, no one was obese. Going back there in 2006, we went back for 6 months. I couldn't believe it, because it was the introduction of Western food, and a sign of wealth was to serve meat at home and to have more of a meat-centric diet. So, it's people say to me, oh, but I eat healthy. But it's about what's right, and it's about removing certain things at the beginning, because when you've got that imbalance, look at the weeds in your garden. You could get out, you've got a garden full of weeds and you're trying to plant some spinach and all the rest of it. You can get out there all day long and fertilize and put some water and sunshine. Those weeds are going to keep coming up, because guess what? They've got the same food source as the good stuff. Your spinach loves sunlight and water. so do weeds. So it's a two-prong approach. While it builds up these microbiota accessible carbohydrates, you also have to be careful about what's feeding the bad ones as well, and you have to incrementally remove those and then increase the other things. So it's a bit of a balancing act. And I always say to people, you are your own doctor. You are your own. People always say to me, they say, "Oh, patients." And I said, no, you're a doctor here, because I need to rely on you listening to your body and thinking, that's actually not right for me. Because, you know, lentils and chickpeas and all those things don't necessarily suit everybody at any given time. And especially if you've got a damaged gut, then obviously, you know, those things make a big difference. Now, a lot of people then ask me, they say, well, if I've got all this bad stuff and I've got, you know, and my good bacteria have gone down to nothing, you know, is diet alone going to do that? Because I take a probiotic every day and, you know, they say that's going to be the one that's going to do it. Bad news. Probiotics do not seed. They're out of your system in about 3 days. What probiotics do, and I'm talking about therapeutic strains, research strains, not the ones that you get at the supermarket or inside a tube that you give your kid every day, which we've already established have got more sugar than probiotics. These are therapeutic strained ones that are research strains, right? And have had years of research that work in supporting our own gut microbiome, because the good bacteria will lay dormant and they'll come down. The bad ones are up here, the good ones are right down here. So what we need is we need a little cheer squad for these guys. We need something that's going to boost them up, and that's what researched probiotics strains do. They don't go in there and seed and just flourish and we go, oh, we're good now. And conversely, as we start building up our good beneficial bacteria, they still need food. Fibre is food. Fibre is fertilizer for your beneficial bacteria. And in the Western diet, and I do it all the time for clients, you know, we work out their fibre intake and they go, oh, I'm really good, I have this and I have that. I'm telling you, most people sit about 18 to 30 grams of fibre, and in Africa and South America, they're upwards of 100 grams of fibre a day. We are not having enough fibre in our diet. And when we don't have enough fibre, then our beneficial bacteria don't have enough food. They don't produce this short-chain fatty acids that then travel around our body and keep our immune cells healthy, keep our serotonin, our mood enhancers healthy, give us B vitamins, have natural antibiotics to feed coughs and colds, eliminate aches and pains, keep our skin healthy. I mean, everything. They've implicated the short-chain fatty acids as one of the major drivers behind metabolic syndrome, which is obesity, high blood pressure, cholesterol. And people for years have been blaming these things on food, looking for different sources, different fads, different diets, but it's about fibre and putting those huge amounts of fibre in your system. Now, of course, you can't start off like a massive amount all at once, because if you do, you will feel it. And that's where a lot of people give up. They go sort of crazy and all of a sudden put all this fibre in their diet, and they look as though they're like 9 months pregnant because they're bloated and gassy. So you really have to incrementally add it. When's the last time you had some lentils and beans and chickpeas and some dal? You know, where are those things? And not once a week. We're talking about these foods need to be in our diet daily. These fruit and vegetables, legumes, lentils, they need to be in our diet. They need to appear daily. You know, I'll make a smoothie, but I'll always add some frozen peas or some live sprouts or a quarter a can of lentils to my smoothie to ensure. I mean, I'm just fibre. I'm a fibre fanatic, I suppose. So it's really important. And one of the other really important things to do is people go that how then do we reduce the bad bacteria? Well, what happens is as you increase your beneficial bacteria, they crowd out the pathogenic bacteria. And also one thing that we've recently found with research is that people go, well, don't these good bacteria die? No, guess what they do? They're like Dr. Jekyll and Mr Hyde. They become pathobionts. Because they don't want to die, what they realise is there's food on the bad side with the pathogenic bacteria. So what they do is they become pathobionts and they transform themselves to go to the dark side, to eat all those foods that kill the gut microbiome but increase pathogenic so that they can stay alive. That's how smart they are. And when the fibre comes back, they go back to being beneficial bacteria. So there's a lot of our bad bacteria that are actually the Dr. Jekyll, Mr Hyde, that are just waiting for food on that side that they can go, oh, thank God, she's given us a celery stick. Oh, thank God, there's some lentils. We can go over there and eat. And guess what? The one thing that our pathogenic bacteria love to eat when we don't give them fibre, mucus. They basically eat the mucus lining of our gut barrier, the very thing that stops bacteria, viruses, fungi, food particles and everything going through, because they have to live. And so they eat this mucus and they break it down and we get intestinal permeability, which what that is AKA leaky gut, where our intestine becomes permeable and bacteria and protozoa and fungi and viruses that are very, very tiny suddenly get through these little tiny gaps and they go into our bloodstream. And then the immune system goes, holy shit, oh my God, and runs to it and tries to knock it out. But there's so many of them that they're like, boom, 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 boom. And then guess what happens is they start with what we call friendly fire. And if anyone's ever known anyone that's fought in a war, is when they get so tired and so crazy, they hear something, they see something, and they turn and they shoot, right? Friendly fire is when people kill their own troops in war. But guess what? Friendly fire happens in our gut. And so what it does is it starts targeting our own organs. It starts targeting friendly bacteria. It starts targeting, and so we get autoimmune. So autoimmune diseases, all the different syndromes, inflammatory bowel diseases, chronic fatigue, all these things, because the immune system can no longer keep up, because it's daily. It's there to do a job when things enter, but it's not there to be going ba-boom, 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 ba-boom. I mean, that's just like going bang, 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 like one of those balls that you go boom, 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 boom. You know, it can't react that way. So there's twofold here. It's not just about, you know, keeping those healthy. It's about keeping the bad bacteria down, because they literally eat us from the inside out. So, yeah, I don't...
Long story short...
yeah, you might want to bring that in, I mean...
Oh, my God, Natalie, I've notes galore on my notepad. I mean, that is just... You know, I've done a bit with gut health, but nowhere, like, there's so many just gold nuggets of facts and interesting little things I didn't even realize myself that I took away from it. And I think what's really exciting and what I love of the focus of being fiber on this is because most people just associate with get more fiber for regularity. They very rarely look at getting the right fiber in order to protect the gut microbiome and feed the good bacteria, which is so important. And, you know, also just looking at the fact that's another reason why we need fruits and vegetables. We need that plant-based nutrition to really get to that starting point. And I think that's why, you know, for instance, for me, as you know, I'm an advocate with Juice Plus. This is another fantastic way to get more plant-based nutrition because, again, we have a deficiency, right, with getting it.
Big time.
even little tricks that you mentioned, such as in your smoothie. I know I like to put frozen peas in my green ones sometimes, more for protein factor, but, hiding lentils in there, even great for kids if you're trying to help improve their gut health and they might not want to eat those foods when you cook it up for them. It's such a great idea. I don't even need to ask any of my other questions. You just covered everything in there straight away.
Now, I think Trudy asked a question, right? She said about what would you recommend for people with celiacs for fibre with whole foods. So celiacs relate to gluten, which is just a lot of the wheat products. But there are so many things that have got fibre without gluten, and that's all of our vegetables. Every single vegetable, what we tend to do is we start to look for replacements with things and we go gluten-free. And I can tell you right now, Trudy, if you are eating gluten-free foods, breads, and all those other things that are made up, crackers, whatever, you are killing your gut microbiome. You are even further killing your gut microbiome. They are not the way. It's about getting whole foods, fruit and vegetables, just stay in the supermarket section or just shop at markets and only buy that, which is what I do, is I teach people how to sort of use that. But the thing is that's how to increase. There are also a lot of grains. There's buckwheat, quinoa, amaranth that are all gluten-free. But I also say to people, don't go too grain heavy, because a lot of them aren't resistant starches, which are the fibre that feeds our gut microbiome. There are so many things like Jerusalem artichoke, leeks, onion, garlic, sweet potato. A lot of those things have got resistant starches, cold potato as opposed to hot potato. That's why chips don't cut it. Unfortunately, people, I'm sorry. So you can't hoe down on a bucket of chips and hope that your gut microbiome works. It's about cold. So cold potato salads that your mum used to make are absolutely fabulous, because they become they're resistant starch, which means they resist digestion in our small intestine, and they travel all the way down to our large intestine, where our little bacteria are sitting. 75% are sitting in our large intestine going, thank God she fed us. Thank God there's some cold potato salad we're getting to eat. And they ferment it. They turn it into short-chain fatty acids, and then these short-chain fatty acids travel all over the body. They improve our gut motility. That's why fibre makes us more regular, because they actually work on the peristalsis of the smooth muscle, the walls. That's what they actually do. So we always used to think, it's the nervous system that does this, or some other parts. They're finding that the gut microbiome is just running the show, like very much. And yeah, like Trudy said, learning to eat again, because we almost have to unlearn what we're being told. And I always say to people, you can bet your bottom dollar that, sometimes when people are saying, the gluten-free, then they've got this product at the end that they're going to offer you to have, that it's going to, fix all your woes. But gluten-free products, as in the crackers and all the rest of it, they've actually said, because they've got to put something else in, and they're usually isolates, emulsifiers, preservatives, and they kill our beneficial bacteria. So we don't want those things. But yeah, great question.
A great response, because I think there is a misconception for many people. Now, it's different if you have an intolerance, or for myself, I have a wheat allergy, but there's this idea of gluten-free, it's healthier. Now, it depends. Again, it's going to go down to what is that made out of, because you can have a lot of unhealthy, as you said, gluten-free products. It's going to go, is it using the right, substitutes in terms of flours and ingredients, going more your almond meal kind of thing, and going into, as you said, your grains, rather than being gluten-free but still white-based, loads of sugar, like the preservatives. So it's learning to, as you said, I'm sure you'd agree with me, understand ingredients and appreciate the ingredients that are going to be improving your gut health, rather than just titles and what looks great on packaging. And sticking to, as you said, avoid packaging if you can, and just go straight for easy good stuff in the markets and around the aisles, all the fruits, the vegetables, the legumes, herbs, all the great stuff. So fantastic information there, especially for, like you said, when you're learning from scratch and you're having to go through this and it's all really brand new. So Natalie, just to tie things up, if you were to give our listeners today just 3 simple tips, for example, that they could go away and you would say, if you're looking to improve your gut health, whether you have an issue or not, you just want to focus on it, what would be your main things that you would say right now, just start with this at least?
Okay, so I would say that smoothies are a much better option than sometimes just a whole juice because of the lack of fibre. So this is when we're starting out. And again, juices are not bad, but they're not necessarily right when we're starting in the beginning. So having smoothies for breakfast, lunch or dinner, it doesn't matter. And adding fibre-rich food. So I know you've got your banana and that, but 2 vegetables, 5 fruits, or 3 or 4 3 or 4 vegetables, so a couple of fruits, vegetables, but throw in a handful of peas, some lentils, some chickpeas. You don't taste them in the smoothie, but you dramatically increase your fibre. And if you struggle with that, like if you've drunk a big glass and you sort of feel bloated, next time just reduce the amount of smoothie that you're drinking and have a bit in the morning and a bit at 10 and a bit later. So rather than going, oh, I'm not going to put that fibre in, train it up to just have small amounts at the time. The next thing is in the initial stages is to reduce the amount of meat. You should not be eating meat every day. Meat has no fibre. What does your plate look like? It should be 80-90% fruit and vegetables, nuts and seeds and things like that, and a very small portion of meat. Okay, so your meat, your fish, and it's very hard because we've been brought up in this Western diet that meat is main stage on the plate, and then the vegetables are only a little bit on the side, and we have to change that. Because it's made a very big difference to our health. And I think finally is having things with a resistant starches which feed our good bacteria. So things like Jerusalem artichoke. And a lot of times people don't even know what they are. You can't even buy it in Coles or Woolies or places like that. You have to go to a market. Jerusalem artichoke are like the king of prebiotic foods. Our gut bacteria love it. Leek. So putting leeks in your soups rather than onions, because while onions are good, leeks are far, far better. And they're great to stir fry with a bit of veggies or some watercress or things like that. Potatoes, sweet potatoes, but have them cooled. Don't have them hot. When we're first starting this, you don't want to be having them hot. You want to have them cooled. So, yeah, they're the 3 main ones that I think that I would say to people to take away from that.
And do you know what? It's so doable. Like those 3 things are so simple to be able to follow and implement. And as you said, and I'm so in agreement with you, it's not about necessarily taking things away on a permanent basis.
No.
Understanding when you are in repair mode, there's got to be a little bit of a take away. And whether that's the gut, whether I deal with it with the I Quit Sugar program, people are like, why do we need to get rid of fruit for one? I'm like, because you've got to get rid of all sugar. There's no such thing as a little, and then you can add a little bit back in. Once you've got that balance, so as you said, you don't sort of live like a monk, but for a while you've really had to strip everything back, and then your body can now handle that 10 to 20% where you're not giving it such great stuff. Good for the soul, but maybe not great for the gut. So, Natalie, I am so grateful for you being on tonight. I took away so much. This is going to be, of course, the recording will be available both through my website permanently, and then, of course, I'm sure you'll be sharing. Before we finish off, can I please have you share, and I can pop it in the chat too, where people can find you, follow you, website, Instagram, and I'll make sure when I post the recording up as well, the details are there. Because there's so much, obviously, we couldn't get into tonight, including, your products with Wild Organics. And for anyone that's looking for chemical-free, home products and things like that, that's another option that Natalie has for you that you can look at as well. So I think you're just popping it in there in the chat section, your details.
So yes, I think where it's get back to here. So there's my Facebook, my website. So on my website, so what I do is I work with clients either privately or online, doing a gut rebalancing protocol. So did that go to everybody? Probably not. That just went to Trudy. Wait a sec. Wait, more. Let's go. Right, let's change it to everyone. Sorry. Well, Trudy got it. Well done, Trudy. There you go. Trudy got in there first. She's like, stuff you all. I've got the information. You've got nothing. Anyway. So yeah, so what I do is I work with programs because what I found out. So I've developed like meal plans and shopping list and a protocol because I realised for a lot of people when you say. Because it was said to me when I found out that all the things I had to remove and do during rebalancing the gut, I was like, oh, right, so basically I eat a lettuce leaf. I didn't know what to do. So I've developed programs for people so that they know they've got their meal plans, their shopping lists, their recipes, everything to rebalance their gut without having to sort of troll the aisles and go, like Trudy said as a celiac, like, what do I eat? Because nobody knows. I mean, it's like learning a new language. Or it's like learning. I mean, we've got the knowledge now because we've been doing it for years and years and years. But when you're starting out, I mean, it's like learning a new language or a new sport. It's really hard and it's so time consuming. And most people are busy working or with kids that you haven't got time to sit there and go, you know, I mean, if you go to a blog site half the time, you've got to read like 20 minutes of blog before, well, I always scroll to the recipe, but do you know what I mean? It's very time consuming. So, you know, people like yourself that can, I suppose, shortcut, and not in a way of like being sneaking and shortcutting, but really just getting straight to the source of like, okay, I know that these things have been tried and tested and I know it's the real deal, because there's so many fads out there that are quick. I know, I've seen them, you know, I've tried them, you know, so I think that's the takeaway. And yeah, if anyone wants to go to my website and look at the health programs that I've got, they'll see, and I've got to download how it all works, little booklet, and they can read. And I think it's if it resonates with them, you know, people go, yeah, I think that's something, because that's what's really important. Things have got to resonate, that it's something that you feel you're ready, because this is not, like with yours, it's not like I'm doing a detox or I'm not, you know, I'm not giving up X, Y, and Z. Well, then I always say to people, this is not for you. Because if you want a different result, you've got to change. You've got to change what you're doing. And just the thing of the term of, well, I eat healthy, just doesn't cut it anymore, because it's when you've got something damaged, you've got to look for an alternative. And yeah, unfortunately, any health condition, just about you can go down and link it straight back to the gut microbiome.
Yeah, amazing. I've got a couple of clients even in mind at the moment that I've just started with who I know are already just going to be like frothing all over this call and this recording, because a lot of it's just more value to what we've been going on and things that I wasn't even aware of. So Natalie, thank you again so much for all of your wisdom.
You're welcome.
The ladies on here tonight have absolutely loved it. I cannot wait to get the recording out in the next 24 hours as well, and have this that somebody can access anytime when they're just really needing that insight. But yeah, that's it for tonight. We're going to have to end it. I'm so sorry, everyone, but I think everyone's a bit like me. They're kind of like, yeah, I think you've given me what I needed out of this. So thank you again for joining.
No, you're fine.
And, thank you to everyone that made it on live. I really hope we've got you 3 tips. I know I'm definitely going to start looking at adding chickpeas into my smoothies. That's my thing I've taken. I'm like, right, that's an extra thing I can do, and anything else from here. So thank you again, Natalie, and I'm going to stop the recording.